Good afternoon. We will begin shortly. While people are logging in, it would be nice for everyone to introduce themselves in the chat with your name, organization, and where you're calling in from. A few technical aspects to review before we get started. If you have any technical difficulties, please use the chat. As a reminder, this meeting will be recorded and shared with all attendees on the call today. Thank you for joining us for today's CEONet webinar. We are grateful that you have joined us for this important conversation. If you have questions for the panel or would like to ask a question during today's call, please post them in the Q&A rather than the chat, as it is easier for our speakers to see the questions. And the Q&A is located in the middle of the bottom of your screen on Zoom. I am Diane Miller, Executive Director of CEONet. I have been affiliated with community foundations for almost 20 years. And in that time, I have frequently heard statements like, we're the community's best kept secret, or we need a national campaign like the United Way and the NFL to raise awareness of community foundations. Those were my first thoughts when I heard about the new branding and advertising campaign for community foundations. CEONet is excited to give you a preview of what this campaign will look like and how it will work. Our colleague affinity group for communication staff, was a partner in the development of this campaign, and I want to thank them for their dedication to this effort. Like CEONet, is a great organization for connecting, sharing, and learning with your colleagues. And if you and your staff are not members, I encourage you to join both organizations. Our speakers today are Peter Panapento and Katrina Crocker. And I want to introduce Katrina first, who is the Director of Communications at the Central New York Community Foundation. With a strong background in strategic communications, Katrina excels in amplifying the foundation's mission and impact through effective storytelling and outreach. Her expertise in media relations, content creation, and community engagement helps to strengthen the foundation's connections with donors in the broader community. Katrina is dedicated to promoting philanthropy and fostering positive social change in Central New York. So, and I want to pause a little bit just to thank our generous and acknowledge our sponsors, Kittleman Group, the Community Foundation Awareness Initiative, and Ekstrom Alley Clients, who enable CEONet to offer member services and benefits for community foundation leaders. And one of those sponsors is on the call today. I want to turn this over to Jeff Hammond, who will talk a little bit about the work that he and Peter are doing, and he can introduce Peter Panapento as one of our panelists. Jeff?
Thank you, Diane. I just want to give a very quick introduction so Peter has all the time that he needs. So there are a lot of folks on the call today. Diane, when you said there were going to be so many people on it, that was great. And so there are a lot of folks on the call who probably know about our work and a few who probably don't. So as a very brief introduction, I help coordinate the work of the Community Foundation Awareness Initiative in DC, kind of the reps in DC for community foundations, a little different than, say, the work the council and other membership groups do, but complementary to it. And so we've been doing a lot of the work on DAF reform and the DAF regulations, for example. And Peter is a consultant to us and helps us with communications and marketing. And so he's been the lead on this whole advertising campaign. And for those folks on the call who are interested in the work we're doing more broadly, you could put something in the chat or send a note to Diane or to me or Peter afterwards, and we're happy to follow up with you. So with that, I'll just turn it over to Peter.
Thank you, Jeff, and thank you, Diane, and thank you all of you for joining us today. I'm really excited to be here with Katrina to share what we've been working on for this national awareness campaign for community foundations. And I want to start by just giving us a bit of background. Chances are, if you go out in your community and you ask folks if they know what this organization is, and this organization is, and this organization is, chances are they'll be able to give you a pretty good answer. But if you go out on the street and you ask people what a community foundation is, you get somewhat of a different response.
Do you know what a community foundation is? No.
I've heard of it. I don't know exactly what it would be.
No, no.
Something with the community.
I think a gated community, something that was put together by people in the neighborhood. A certain geographical area or community has control over the money. Community foundation? No.
No.
I don't. Community foundation. I mean, I imagine it. I guess I don't.
I don't offhand know what a community foundation is.
Syracuse Salvation Army?
No, I cannot. No. No. Unfortunately, I cannot. No.
I cannot.
So generally, I associate a community foundation with kind of a brick and mortar. Well, I don't know what a community foundation is.
You know, I would have to look, probably in the yellow pages, I'm dating myself.
Well, hopefully that translated well for all of you. Those were interviews that we did with people in 4 or 5 different communities around the country a couple of years ago. They were not cherry-picked responses. We asked those 2 questions to each person we spoke to, and not a single person could name what their local community foundation was, nor could they define what a community foundation is. And a big reason for that, as we've been talking to the community foundation communications teams that we work with at the Awareness Initiative over the past several years, is that there's never really been an effort to build a cohesive brand for community foundations nationally. The organizations I shared at the top, the United Way, Feeding America, Boys and Girls Club of America, and many other national organizations that have local or community-based affiliates, have invested very heavily over the years in creating a really consistent brand for their organizations. And while the community foundation model is somewhat different in that we are each individual organizations, independent organizations, there is a lot that holds us together and a lot of unique values that community foundations bring to the world. But we've never been very disciplined in talking about our work in a systematic and regular way. And that has created a lot of barriers for community foundation communications and marketing teams as they've been out trying to educate the public about getting involved with their work. And I would, really wager to believe that a lot of you face this barrier when you're out representing your organizations in your community. You spend a lot of time educating people on what a community foundation is, and specifically what your community foundation is, which really makes it more difficult for you to build meaningful connections right away and really affect the type of change that you want to make in your communities. So with that in mind, we have been working with a group of community foundation communicators. We meet bi-weekly on Zoom and have been for several years. And as a product of those conversations, a working group came together in late 2021 with the idea that by coming together with the communications teams at community foundations around the country, we could start to get at what it would take to build a branding campaign that would help elevate the understanding of our field and awareness of the work we do. So this group has been working for 2.5, close to 3 years now. It includes communicators from every region in the United States, from community foundations that are large and small and everything in between. And we've been working kind of as an ad hoc group to build a stronger national brand for community foundations. And we even did a test project in late 2022 that you may have seen. It was an effort that we did during Community Foundation Week, using a bit of ad credits that were given to us by Facebook and Instagram to test what it would take to develop and scale something that we could run across multiple communities at the same time and do a corresponding national message with. And we designed a series of colorful image ads that talked about the collective impact of community foundations around different issue areas. And we made them with the idea that you would have kind of a national image and the opportunity to brand it in your local community at your local community foundation. And this ran for a period of a few weeks in late 2022 for us to test what it would take to put together a model for doing this work, a hybrid national local campaign where individual community foundations could put their individual messaging and branding on an advertising message that would run across multiple communities. And what we learned from that, number one, is that there's a lot of interest among community foundations in supporting this kind of work. We had a lot of pickup. We had dozens of community foundations that ran versions of those ads during that time. But what we also learned is that developing an ad hoc message without doing the appropriate due diligence and research to really define our audience and what is going to resonate with them is going to fall short of our desired result. So around a year ago at this time, we started bringing together a smaller group of community foundation communications teams that were interested in co-investing their time and a bit of money into developing a national branding campaign. And we had 25 community foundations from every region of the country. Again, a group of large, going as large as the New York Community Trust and Community Foundation for Greater Atlanta, down to very small community foundations, county community foundations in Ohio, the Adirondack Foundation in rural New York. And the idea with this group is that each would invest in having us develop creative concepts and then do focus group testing on those concepts and invest in a national ad buy. And at the same time, they would agree to run these ads, versions of these ads in their community using their own ad budget to help us gather information and see how these messages will perform in local markets. And we've been working over the past year, and within the next month or so, we'll be launching the campaign in some markets. And Katrina is going to talk a little bit about the process we've gone through to this stage and how we've gotten there, how we've gotten to where we are right now.
Thanks, Peter. So as Diane mentioned, there's that common thread that we all hear when we're out in the community, and that's that community foundations are the best kept secret in town. And I've heard that. That was the first thing I heard on my first day when I started working at a community foundation 17 years ago, and it is still prevalent today. So that's what brought about these project goals when we sat down to figure out what do we want to do with this national campaign. Our primary goal was to raise awareness in our communities of what community foundations do and what our unique value proposition is. Now, the ideal outcome would be that they open a fund or start giving to us right away. The most likely scenario is that those who are introduced to a community foundation through a campaign like this will start to build up a stronger recognition of your community foundation's names and build a trust bank so that when they are later on referred to your organization from a professional advisor or a friend at church or a family member, they'll say, oh, I know what that is. I've seen their ads. I've heard about them. They're not like some strange thing that I've never noticed or heard of before. I want to call out the second bullet here that talks about clear messaging. So the Council on Foundations released a study about foundation storytelling and language very recently. And there's a finding in here that I want to read for you, quoted from the study. There is no coherent narrative about what foundations actually do, shrouding philanthropy in mystery and hindering the sector's ability to build trust. The result is a siloed sector where foundations are divided into niches, telling stories only about the issues they focus on, and not connecting their work to the specific and unique role foundations play in our progress as a society. And they recommended, quote, that the sector and the various audiences it interacts with, including the American public and policymakers, would benefit if foundations began focusing more intentionally on the sector's shared traits. And that is exactly what we're trying to do with this campaign. So we're very excited that that study actually helped lift up our efforts. Go to the next slide, Peter. So we're going to talk about target audience for a second. In a perfect world, when you go to design an advertising campaign, that campaign will reach everyone. Everyone will connect to it and see it and love it and want to take action. But in the field of marketing and communications, we know that that's a fool's errand, because people in different stages of life and in varying backgrounds hold different values and interests. And that makes them respond to messages differently. That's why audience profiles are used, to tailor effective messages to the largest segment of audience you want to reach. So we all came together, this cohort of 25 foundations, to try to identify what our ideal profile would look like to reach in this campaign. And throughout the process, what I found fascinating was how our differences were evident as we flushed this out. We had community foundations in rural communities versus those in urban communities, those in conservative towns versus those in progressive towns, West Coast versus Southern states. And so one commonality was found. When we came up with this profile, I still remember the day he said, okay, does anyone else have anything you want to change? And it was crickets, because we all agreed that it fell in line with the donor profile we wanted to reach. So the ideal donor prospect is involved in their community already. That's what we have determined from our background and after talking to our development departments. They either volunteer, they give to charity, they vote, they sit on boards and committees, they stay up on local news and the concerns in the community. And I want to acknowledge that there are other types of ideal donors. I'm sure you're thinking about those who are driven to have tax advantages, or those who are driven just by their ego and want their name on a building. And those are obviously some of, our bread and butter. We need those types of donors, but they're less likely to have what we call here at Central New York Community Foundation sticky money. So by sticky money, we mean the money that sticks around for generations. And we're looking for donors that will engage with the community foundation and our work, and eventually, hopefully, be motivated to convert their DAFs to permanent funds, to support our initiatives now that we're working on to improve the community, to back our impact investing program. All of those specific initiatives that we have that we're looking to help build our endowment for the long run, we need that sticky money. And we need people who are very motivated to make a difference in the community that they love in order to do that. So that's how we came up with this profile. Just to call out a dynamic individual in their 40s and early 50s who are deeply committed to their community. So why did we put that age bracket in there? You're probably wondering. Well, we're not targeting the other age groups, but what we're looking to do is to get that next gen interested in philanthropy now. And once people reach, their mid 40s and 50s, they have been giving on off to charity probably most of their lives. They've volunteered, they've done the work, but they've also had the opportunity to build some wealth and feel comfortable giving more strategically. So they may be writing checks to the charities that they wanted to support, or donating online if they're of a younger generation. But once they reach a comfortable place, this is the general age range we see people starting to become interested in creating a fund. Go to the next slide, Peter. All right, so as I had mentioned, foundations in this cohort come in all shapes and sizes. So we have urban and rural senior towns versus those with lots of young people. We have some hip and trendy community foundations versus those that tend to communicate in a more of a traditional way. So the question was, how do we all coalesce around this message? Well, I can say it took 2 years. It was not easy. It was a lot of meetings. It was a lot of questions and debate. But after all of those discussions, you know, we found we all have in common some things that we share with our audiences. We want to be trusted and accessible partners. We want to maximize our impact to create change, and we want to address immediate and long-term needs.
And those message points or proof points are what we came together around, really trying to emphasize as things that we want to convey in this campaign. And to Katrina's point about the persona, we have a limited opportunity here to test something. And rather than trying to reach everybody, we wanted to be very deliberate about making sure that our messages would really connect with a really high priority audience for the field. And so we spent the better part of 6 months really making sure that we had researched the qualities of that target persona so that we really understand who they are and what they care about, and that we developed proof points that aligned around what that persona cared about. And then we spent some time over a period of months testing some creative concepts that elevated those proof points with the focus groups to get feedback from them on what really resonated with them and how we could ensure that this campaign would be designed in a way to get the maximum impact for us. And that is to inspire them to not only engage with our ads, but take the next step and learn more and connect with their local community foundation. So we worked with an outside research team that spent time with each of the 25 community foundations in this group to really learn about their goals for the campaign and what some of the unique challenges that Katrina and her colleagues were facing. Then we designed a set of initial creative concepts that we tested with a group with focus groups in December. And from the feedback we got from those groups, we realized that our initial set of creative treatments didn't quite hit the mark. So we took the feedback that we got from those groups and we went out with a new set of creative concepts that I'll share with you in a minute, that we further tested, and we landed on a clear winner that I'll also share with you in a minute. And then we sent a survey out to folks that had been invited to participate in the focus groups to get some additional input from them. And it's worth noting that these focus groups were comprised of individuals who fit that target demographic, that purpose-driven philanthropist who doesn't currently have a relationship with their community foundation. And we sourced those focus groups from the communities that were participating in this campaign. So we were hearing about actual prospective donors from the 25 communities that are represented by this group. And before I show you the creative concepts, wanted to share a bit about how we did that. We did virtual focus groups with 42 participants across 22 markets. And then with the survey responses, we got a total of 54 people that we heard from. And in terms of the demographics, about 4 out of 5 of them fell within the desired age range that we're talking to. About a third of them were fairly new to their communities, and therefore were looking for ways to connect. And 42% of them identified as either Black, Asian, Native Hawaiian, or Pacific Islander, or Hispanic Latino. So we had a really diverse group of folks that we were talking to as part of this. And in addition to getting their feedback on the ad campaigns, they also provided us with some insights that might be worth considering as you're thinking about doing outreach to this group. We learned a bit about what their giving motivations and preferences are. Folks in this group want to give with ease and flexibility. They are likely more motivated to give digitally than some of our traditional donors in the community foundation world. They don't want to be over communicated with. They really want to feel as though you're sharing relevant information to them and with them, and that you're not trying to sell them. And they prefer to give to organizations where they have a personal connection, or when there's a crisis that's happening that they want to respond to. And most of them said that they did not have not donated through a community foundation in the past, largely because they've never been asked, or that they were not aware of the fact that they had a local community foundation. So these are all things that we can kind of bake into how we think about deploying this campaign, and might influence how you think about reaching out to this group in your market. So I mentioned that we had tested in our second round 3 different campaign creative strategies with this group. I'm sharing a kind of a version of each of those. The first really focused on how community foundations, by working with bringing together donors, help communities kind of achieve their greatest dreams and possibilities. The second is the one that we called Make More Possible. And again, it focused on the power of collective giving, in this case, kind of showing very different subject areas where community foundations bring donors together, and positioning that with messages about how we make more possible in those different areas. And the third was a graphic treatment where we showed what you can accomplish when you give by yourself versus what you can accomplish when you give together. And it showed one house, which is essentially what you would do on your own, versus what you can accomplish working together and funding and achieving more. And interestingly, we had a very clear winner in this group. And the feedback we got was that we took the feedback that we got from the focus groups, and came up with a campaign concepts that felt more targeted and personal to them, that they could really connect with the images and the messaging that we put together. And folks really came together around the Make More Possible concept. 88% of the folks that we talked to in that stage of the process and through the surveys said that this was their first choice. And 3 out of 5 said they were likely to be motivated to learn more about their community foundation after seeing the More concept. And interestingly, within the 25 community foundations that are working on this, this was the overwhelming choice for this group too. Not only did we like the messaging and the feel and look of this campaign, but it turned out that this is one that is very easy to customize and really kind of localize in each community. And I'll walk you through a few different creative treatments that we've come up with already for this, but they did tell us that they want to, we felt it was really possible that when people click through this ad, that they end up on a landing page that really speaks to the target audience we're talking to. That we all have to collectively recognize that the main creative concept isn't going to tell the whole story, but it is designed in a way to get people to want to learn more and dig deeper. And that in future campaigns, we can extend this and put different treatments on it to make the ask that community foundations would make a bit more clear. So let's take a quick look at this campaign and some of the different iterations of it that are going to be rolled out in different communities starting next month. This is a digital ad that has no sound, but kind of gives you a sense of how this might look as a video ad. So as you can see, it really showcases the different ways that donors can come together to support different issue areas through their local community foundation. And that ad is set up in a way where you can change the messaging, you can change the images, you can change your logo and branding to make sure that it really speaks to your community and the work that your community foundation does. These are a collection of static digital ads that could run on social media. This first one is paired with a message about how when you give through your local community foundation, you join a powerful collective of donors who are making a positive impact. And it takes you to a landing page on the community foundation's website. This one showcases scholarships, but as you can see, as it runs as a campaign, you can focus on different issue areas that donors are coming together in your community. And then this is an example of a full page print ad. This is one with no images on it, just simple text that, kind of plays up that more idea, make more possible idea and the different issue areas. And then again, pairs it with a message at the bottom about how you are joining, you can make more possible through joining with other donors to make a collective impact. Here's another treatment of a print ad using a mosaic of photos from from the community foundation and the organizations you support. And more print ad treatments. And as you can see, we've designed these to have QR codes so people, when they're seeing them out of context, can scan through and go to a landing page on a community foundation's website. This is how can it be extended to more banner ads and digital ad campaigns. This is a GIF ad that would appear as a banner on a website. And then it could even be expanded into t-shirts and window decals and billboards. And we've also taken some great input from our group of the 25 communications teams, as well as what we learned from the focus groups, and created some mock-ups of landing pages on community foundation websites that would provide more information about how you can make more possible in your community through your community foundation, and provide some calls to action on the pages about that are really kind of aligned with each community foundation's goals. So in some cases, there might be a call to action to schedule a consultation or sign up for an email campaign or attend an event. And we've provided different treatments of what those ads might look like. And then we have created a brand toolkit that we've provided to each of the community foundations that really makes sure that they are given clear ideas on how to customize the campaign in their communities while also making sure that it remains consistent. We're having a lot of fun conversations and debates right now about how to make sure that it aligns with your brand and your brand colors and that the fonts are consistent. But you can see the kind of detail we've provided to make sure it's very easy for community foundations that are participating to know how to use the ads. So this is examples on how you would customize a print full page ad, and how you would customize your own video on social media. And we are now in the fun process of developing localized ads that are going to appear in each market. And with the budget that we have remaining, after we've done the focus groups, we are going to do a small national ad buy where we're going to test doing national versions of these ads on digital media starting this September. So some of the community foundations in the group are launching this campaign as soon as next month and through the summer. The bulk will be running it this fall, September through November in most cases. And all of us are going to be tracking metrics and reporting back so that we can provide reporting back to the larger field that would hopefully inform new and larger campaigns in the future that would get more community foundations involved that will help us improve our messaging for future campaigns and potentially go after additional audiences, and then would help Katrina and others learn what they can take from this campaign and apply to their own branding and messaging efforts in their own markets. And Katrina, maybe you could talk a little bit about the process you're going through now to localize the campaign in Central New York.
Sure. We're right in the process now of designing all of our ads. It's going to start running this summer. We will be doing both print and online banner ads, as well as social media ads. So we're dedicating a portion of our normal annual advertising budget for the placements. One thing I wanted to make sure that I pointed out to you all is that putting a campaign like this together from scratch with formal focus groups, multiple design iterations, and a toolkit would cost this foundation tens of thousands of dollars to create. So by joining this effort for basically a nominal fee based on asset size, we're getting professional campaign materials that are sleek and professional. And my team has already come to me and said that this toolkit is so well done. There's tons of ad size choices and guidance to help them create the ads. They find it to be very professional and well thought out. So your communications teams will appreciate it. The artwork comes in the design formats that most communications teams are used to working in their software. So it's very user friendly. And hopefully we're going to get some advantage of some additional lift by pairing our ads with the national ad buys as well, so that people are seeing these messages, in many different places.
So yes, we're starting to vet and show some of the ads that different organizations are putting together. These are how Adirondack Foundation in New York and Greater Worcester Community Foundation have been envisioning full page print ads that they're going to be launching this summer. You can see each one has different imagery and has chosen to focus on some different issue areas that they're working on and bringing donors together around. And Katrina, I know you're working through, we have the primary campaign color being orange, and Central New York Community Foundation is based in Syracuse, New York, and the primary brand in Syracuse is Syracuse University. And guess what their nickname is?
The Syracuse Orange.
So we are working through some logistics of trying to extend different brand colors that align with the foundation's brand, but are not, and align with the overall brand of this campaign, but aren't going to make everybody think that Katrina's running ads for Syracuse University. So there's a lot of logistics to work through on this, and we're doing our best to try to keep consistency with it and do it in a way where it really resonates well in each community.
There are some questions in the Q&A, Peter.
Yes, I see that. And Steve's asked a couple of questions about some of the messaging. Did we ask about using community foundations as a facilitator of philanthropy rather than another nonprofit seeking contributions? I think one area that we were very sensitive to was trying to specify what the unique value add of the community foundation is, and that you can accomplish more with a community foundation as a facilitator, as somebody who kind of brings people together and matches it with your local expertise to achieve more as kind of our value add. And that was something that was very difficult to convey in the main creative. And it's also a message that didn't really resonate with people when we were testing it in the focus groups, but it's something that we've really tried to put front and center on the landing pages when people click through to want to learn more. As you'll see on this ad, it kind of is talking about bringing together donors like you with our local grant making expertise to get exponentially more impact. And based on some feedback from Katrina and some of her colleagues, we've further refined this. This is a bit of an outdated version of this graphic now, where we've taken out the word pooled and talked about kind of the, when donors come together and are matched with our local grant making insights and expertise, as well as our ability to invest your money smartly, we can achieve exponentially more impact. And yes, we are indeed open to more community foundations joining the campaign. We are going to provide my email in the chat, so that if you want to reach me directly, we can set up a call and talk more about how we can get you engaged. And they'll also be sharing that in the follow-up materials.
Peter, and this is Diane, and I'm sorry I have to jump in on my screen because I can't type a question, so I apologize for having to jump in like this. So when you what, I have two questions that kind of came up as you were talking. So one is, what kind of metrics are you using as measurements? Because you said you're going to run the campaign and then later you'll do some measurement, and I'm just curious about what kind of measurement you'll use to determine success, or where you need to tweak something.
Right, we're measuring a lot of things. So at the highest level, we're measuring how many people follow through on the call to action. So how many people are clicking through to the landing page, and then in turn clicking through to do whatever the community foundation is asking them to do, whether it's sign up for an email campaign, attend an event, schedule a consultation, whatever they're looking for folks to do. That's kind of the highest level, right? Like, what is our ROI on this for getting people to start a relationship with their local community foundation? But we are also measuring everything from engagement levels around different versions of these ads on social media and through digital campaigns. We're measuring how many people it reaches. We're measuring, in some cases where community foundations have sentiment data, whether sentiment about the community foundation is changing. We have kind of a long list, and not every community foundation in the group is going to be able to measure everything, but we are going to roll it all up and be able to really draw some great insights in terms of the ROI on this campaign, but also like what we can learn from it in terms of like what people responded to most, what types of mediums people are also responding most to, and are we able to target this message for different audiences on digital campaigns as well. So a lot of different things.
So I want to be quiet. There's a couple more questions in the chat or in the Q&A, and I'll leave you to those rather than me talking.
Okay, great. So we'll go through some of these. One is how does this differentiate us from the United Way? We're at a community foundation that leans into legacy giving, and appreciate what this will do to begin to raise awareness among younger donors, but you don't see the legacy language anywhere. Is that because it didn't resonate? Kind of. I think the reason we moved away from legacy and more towards awareness building is that this is really an effort to introduce people to community foundations. And the legacy conversation really happens once you've started a relationship with somebody and that they've built some trust and affinity for the organization. So we thought that leading with legacy might not be the way to reach this audience best at this stage, and that might be something that we do in future iterations. And I think, Katrina, do you have more insights on that piece?
Yeah, that legacy work is what I mean by sticky money. So we use DAFs or other types of giving, one-off giving or giving to our community fund is like the doorway into conversations about legacy. So once they're on our mailing list or become a prospect in some way, that's when we start hitting them with the legacy work. But I do think that if you went out heavy on a public awareness campaign on legacy, you would automatically isolate the younger generation who aren't really thinking about that quite yet, and feel like that's more for an older age group.
So that is something that I think we can hopefully help spawn as people kind of grow their relationships with you over time through this. George has a question about, in media markets with more than one community foundation, how will we distinguish one community foundation from another? That's a very good question, George, and it's one that I think we're still working through. In markets where there are kind of direct, I don't want to call them competitors, but more than one community foundation really kind of actively working in the same market. We've talked about trying to see if there's a way to do co-branded campaigns with those organizations. And I think we still have to work through that with foundations in those areas. I see that you're in Ithaca, which does get reached by Katrina's organization, I think, in some areas. So I think we have to work through some of the logistics on that, and we are open to suggestions and ideas. What I think is really great about this campaign is it is something that we're kind of co-developing with the field and problem solving together. So if you're interested in helping us work through issues like that, we'd love to have you be part of that conversation. How do you see a small rural community foundation with less than $20 million participating? Do you think it can have the same success in a community without a local news source? I do think you can have some success there, and I would say that probably the way to do it would be through targeted digital and social media ads that really focus on people that live in the zip codes in your community and that have the audience characteristics that you're most looking to reach. And I think you can do that on a pretty small budget if you're looking at a really small population. And it could be the kind of thing where you test something with a small budget and you see what kind of relationships it spawns for your foundation, and then see if it's worthy of a larger investment after that. And are the measurements mostly from digital placements? It'll be a mix of digital placements. I think for those who are doing print ads and through other non or more analog measurements, I think what you would tend to do is rely on the place you're purchasing from for estimates on how many people it's reaching. And then you would design a landing page that you're taking people to that you would be able to then measure the traffic that comes there and be able to connect that to what you were able to accomplish.
And you can also subscribe to some QR code companies for a nominal fee, and then that will allow you to collect insights on the pass-through rate of your QR codes too. So you can look at your stats from that, in addition to looking at your Google Analytics to see how many people entered your site specifically with that URL that's on your print ad.
Great. And to Heather's question, we can certainly share the list of community foundations that are participating in the follow-up materials. That's something that I should have included in the slide deck and didn't do this time, but we can certainly do that. And we also had a question on whether it can be statewide. The answer is yes. In fact, Arizona Community Foundation is doing it and they are a statewide foundation. We're also talking to some state associations of community foundations on what it would take to partner with a state association and coordinate this with their members in their individual states. So that's something, again, that we're exploring, and I think we can implement as we go a little deeper into this campaign. And to Kara's question about access to the toolkit, right now we're making it available just to the foundations that are participating. because they have really invested both their time and their effort in this so far. But the goal with this longer term is if this does, if this is something that resonates and there's more field-wide interest in it, finding ways to make the creative materials and the toolkit available to more, and do it in a way where we can make sure that there is some consistency of message and brand, so that there are ways to ensure that the field gets lift out of this. So, we are right now working with those who've really kind of put the time and effort into it, or are willing to invest in supporting the national ad buy that we're doing this year. But we are really interested in finding ways to extend and expand this to others outside of those who are able to invest at this time.
So Peter, that sounds like a really good way to kind of wrap it up. And my other question was, when we'll be able to report out in the fall, or at some point we had talked, when you and I did a planning call, we talked about reporting out later this year, like October, November, about the metrics that you have, and then sharing how other foundations could be part of that, what's been learned, what's coming ahead, and that sort of thing. So can you talk just a little bit about that?
Yes, so we will be having and starting to collect data on this starting late summer and fall, and we would be thrilled to join CEONet to provide an early look at not only how different community foundations have been running this campaign, but to report some of those initial results. And between now and then, we have a steering committee that's been working on this project, a smaller group of those 25 who are really helping us make sure that we're doing this in a thoughtful way, and that we're incorporating everybody's voices in it, and that we are able to kind of break ties where we have disagreements in opinion. One of our goals over the next couple months as we're launching the campaign is convening that group to think about what phase 2 of this looks like. How do we get others involved? How are we envisioning either adapting this or extending this in 2025 and beyond? And we'll have a lot more answers on that this fall than we do right now. It's been a lot of work from a lot of dedicated community foundation communicators who are doing this off the side of their desk while they're doing their annual reports and their email newsletters and all the other things they do. So we're trying to do this in a way where we honor the capacity of all those groups, but make sure we get their input in it. So I think we'll have a lot more to share when we come back later this year, assuming you'll still have us, Diane.
Yeah, no, I'm excited. And again, as we said, it's not a one and done thing. You've collected a lot of a groundswell of support amongst a wide range of sizes and locations of community foundations. And I think it's exciting. And yes, there are questions and more to come. So I just want to thank both Peter and Katrina for being here today and explaining a little bit about this program. It's exciting. And like I said, when I started working with community foundations, this was something that people wanted 20 years ago. And it's exciting to see how far you've come with this. And I'm hoping that it's very successful for this summer. And I'm looking forward to hearing more about it. And with that, we are going to close. We will be sending a link to this recording. And we will also include Katrina and Peter and Jeff's contact information. And I just wanted to let you know that on June the 6th, we will be having another CEONet webinar, which is a conversation with 4 recently retired CEOs. Very different than the one we had last year. These are really cool people and very interesting to talk about. And I want to thank you for your time today and hope you all have a great afternoon. Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone.